going on, everyone? This is Cedric Skysetti and welcome back to another video. Now today's video was inspired by one of my all-time favorite YouTubers, Jenn Im, and she recently did a video talking about her experience growing up as a Korean American. And her video was actually a response to a video that Amy from Vagabond Youth did. So I'll link both of those videos below, but I thought it would be cool for me to go ahead and participate in this tag. And it's been a little while since I talked about this, and so I thought it would be fun. Now before I get started, I do want to say that there is construction going on right outside that window, and hopefully it won't be too distracting. Now there are 9 questions that I'm gonna be answering in this video, and before we get started, I just want to say that this video is gonna have a little bit of a different twist because not only am I a Korean American, but I'm also an African American. So I'm half Korean, half African American, so I'm gonna have that spin on this tag video. Also, a couple of months back, I did a video where I told my story of how I grew up as a Black and Korean man. If you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out right here, and I'll link it below as well. All right, so let's get started. I am a Korean American and also an African American. My mother is Korean and my father was African American. This is an interesting question. I think I would have to classify myself as a second generation Korean American because my mom came to the States back in 1980. She was almost 30 years old when she first came. She's been here for almost 40 years. She's definitely been here longer than she's lived in Korea. So I would say second gen. Now my first experience, I would have to say, was probably the summer after 5th grade when I was part of a recreation football league, and we played football all summer, and most of the members on my team were African Americans, and there was like a few Hispanics and maybe 1 or 2 Caucasians. I was the only Asian one in the bunch, and I remember my coach gave me a nickname of Black Chinaman. Now he clearly knew that my mom was Korean, he knew my mom was Asian, but he used to call me Black Chinaman in practices and in the games, and that was my nickname that he gave me. And at the time, I didn't realize that he was being very racist and derogatory with his comments. Now that I look back, it totally makes sense. And you know, he didn't have a choice whether I was on the team or not because it was recreation. I just remember feeling a little confused, and I remember feeling embarrassed as a kid because a lot of the other team members on my football team would call me Black Chinaman, and so it was a thing that I was known for, at least when I was playing football. And I remember I never really felt good about it, and I think at that point I started to feel like maybe being Asian or half Asian wasn't cool, or maybe it wasn't as acceptable as being black or white. It never sat well with me. Yeah, so I want to say that was probably my first time where I had the realization that I was different. Now growing up as a half black, half Korean male, I never really in my younger years made the distinction of race. And I think a lot of kids, especially if you live in a racially diverse area, they don't really make that distinction because kids are kids. Kids don't really see race, they see friends, they see boys and girls, they see people that they can have fun with. And I remember growing up, I never really thought that I was different in that regard, but I did have an understanding of the fact that Korean culture was celebrated in my house. Also, elements of African American culture was celebrated as well. And so like my elementary school years, for the most part, I was proud to be Korean and I was proud to be black. But at the end of the day, I was a human being. And so race didn't really matter to me that much. But when I got to middle school, which was at the tail end of the whole football incident where everyone would call me Black Chinaman, around that time, which is a funny time because that's when you really start to begin being aware of what people think about you and wanting to be accepted. You're going through puberty. I mean, there's a lot of emotions that's developing within you, and really a lot of them aren't good emotions. But around that time is when I felt like being Korean wasn't as cool as being black. Now, to give you a little bit of context, I grew up in a pretty racially diverse town. It was a military town in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It was a pretty good mix of different types of people. We had a lot of African Americans, Caucasians, Hispanics, and even Asians. So the school that I went to was pretty mixed. But what I would notice growing up is being Asian or being Korean was not really cool. Of course, you know, as a middle schooler, you want to fit in, you want to be cool. And so I think at that point, at least in front of my friends or who I thought were my friends and my peers at school, I wanted to display a little bit more of the African American side, if that makes sense. I wanted to embrace African American culture, or at least the culture that my black friends and people that I knew around me were embracing. And so at that point, I didn't want to be associated too much with being Korean. So those few years was a really funny time. Now, I would say deep down inside though, I was never really ashamed. It was just the pressure of people around me and just not being accepted. So I just kind of put on a certain front when I was around them, and I didn't want to show my Korean side, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think that was just a small phase of my life. It didn't last too long. I think in high school, that's when I really started to embrace my Korean side even more again. And I was proud to be both. Now, there are many different stereotypes that I've gotten over the years, some that I'm not gonna mention because this is a family-friendly channel. But I think I've gotten a lot of the stereotypical Asian jokes about being good at math, being smart, becoming a doctor or a lawyer, but also from a lot of my Korean friends. They automatically assume that I could play basketball. They automatically assume that I have rhythm. They automatically assume that I can dance, which I won't deny that. But the point is, the stereotypes kind of goes both ways. And so those were some of the stereotypes that I received growing up. Yes, I do speak Korean. I can read and write it. I can have simple conversations and dialogues in Korean. I can text in Korean, but I would say my level of Korean is elementary school level, but I'm quickly graduating to middle school after moving here in Korea, so. My relationship with my parents, fortunately, has always been good for the most part. Yes, I had some rough patches in my teenage years, but even then, I still had a respect for both of my parents. Now my mom is kind of a traditional Korean thinker in that she wanted her kids to be successful, to make sure they make a lot of money when they grow up, and to become a doctor or a lawyer. But at the same time, she didn't put so much pressure on us to do that. So I think because of that, my relationship with my mom has always been pretty good because she never forced us to do anything that we really didn't want to do. But she doesn't have a problem making it known what she really wants. So my relationship has always been good with my mom. I respect my mom even more now. My relationship with my father has always been good as well. My dad has always been involved in our family's life, and I remember times growing up where we would just sit on the porch and talk for hours just about life, and that's when I would get a chance to ask him questions about maybe how he grew up or how he thinks about certain things. I remember always feeling empowered after all of those conversations, so my relationship with my dad was always good. Now, unfortunately, my dad is no longer with us, but all those memories stays with me and they're always gonna stay with me. Well, I am super proud to be Korean American, and I am very proud of the culture that is embedded within me. You know, when you look back at the history of the country and you look back centuries and even to the modern era, you will come to find that the culture of Korea or Korean people have gone through a lot, and they've stuck together throughout the centuries. They stuck together throughout oppression, and in such a short period of time, modern day Korea has become what it has become because of the people and the resilience of the country. That makes me proud to be Korean. Also, when I think about the bravery of my mom, when she decided to leave Korea to come to the United States in 1980 at a time where there was no internet and she didn't speak a lick of English, I am so proud to know that my mom was brave enough to come on her own, by the way, and start a new life because she had dreams and a vision for a future, which obviously included our family. And I've seen my mom work incredibly hard over the years to give us the life that we were able to live. And so I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for how hard she has worked. And also for my father, he has worked incredibly hard, and collectively my mom and dad has done incredible with raising their family and loving their family. So to answer the question about identifying with my Korean side, yes, absolutely, I identify with my Korean side. I also identify with my African American side. I am proud to be both. My favorite thing about my heritage is I get the best of both worlds. I get to experience two different cultures and different elements of both cultures, and I would not want to have it any other way. Alright guys, that is it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those questions and also learning a little bit more about me. Now, if you haven't seen my Black and Korean story, make sure you watch it. Link is below and also it's in the cards. You'll be able to get some insight into how I grew up with both a Black father and a Korean mother, so it's really cool, so make sure you watch that. Guys, if you're not subscribed to this channel, I want to invite you to do so. I make Korean culture related content. I am a Black and Korean man living in Korea at the moment, and so I am documenting my experiences here and shining some light on Korean culture. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like it, and also share the video. It helps me out a lot. Alright, that is it guys. I'll see you guys in the next video, and remember to always seize the day. Peace.